I'd recommend to any kid, young, coming out of high school, not knowing what they want to be in life or what they want to actually do in life. I've had a lot of time to reflect since we've gotten out. And I have kids now. And at first I wouldn't push the military on them, but now when I talk to them about it, it was the greatest thing I ever did. If you're uncertain about what you want to do in life, look, you join the military for 4 to 6 years. The first 4 years, you're just getting in. And then by the time you settle yourself, it's time to get out. Then you re-enlist for another time. And it was the best time of my life. The people that I were around, the community that I became a part of, I can't say enough about them. When I was in college, I was in a fraternity, and I thought you couldn't have any more fun than that. And when I got into the military and into the Navy, I never looked back. They take care of everything. They give you your housing, your medical, your dental. If anything goes wrong, they send your butt over there to get healed up. Matter of fact, you can't go do anything until you get your checkups. You get a paycheck twice a month. And it goes into account you don't ever have to touch. Plus, when you travel, they paid you extra. And then there's also schools for an advancement. So if you're in there, the more you volunteer, the more you learn, the more you become, and those qualifications carry on later in life. Also, they'll send you to college.
I'm Chad Robicheaux, former Force Recon Marine and DoD contractor who served on a JSOC task force on 8 deployments to Afghanistan. Being a United States Marine in a special operations community has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. And I want to thank you as this next generation of young men and women who are even considering doing what few will do. Raise your hand and make oath to our nation and our Constitution to defend people, foreign and domestic, to protect our nation, to go and defend people around the world who can't defend themselves. For me, it has been the greatest honor to serve in that capacity and to give of myself to do that. But it's also been so rewarding to go through my service and learn of how special it is to be able to serve. And when you're part of something like being in the military and serving in that capacity, you realize the things that you are capable of.
Now, most people don't know about the GI Bill and what it's capable of and the many things that it's capable of. I didn't. Like when I got in, I really didn't care. But now they have counselors that will actually come up to you and tell you, hey, look, we're going to do this, you're going to do that, so you can get this qualification. And then if you have a squared away chief, he'll do that for you. I mean, it's one thing after another. The best thing about making advancement and making rank is people ahead of you want you to do that. So because there's somebody coming in after you who needs your position, they make you get qualified in certain positions to push you up the chain and up the ladder. They're just more beneficial to you. The qualifications that you can get in the military, anything you can do as a civilian, we have in the military, only you're covered down on. And that in itself is so reassuring and reaffirming, and the fact it's like a confidence you're walking around knowing that you absolutely have a job.
I was in a deficit for male leadership, true male leadership and direction. And so the Marine Corps gave me that. I mean, the Marine Corps, every NCO and staff NCO and officer over me was a new father figure, and I had lessons I could learn from each of them. And so it's a great opportunity. But I tell you what the Marine Corps really did for me more than anything. I grew up, growing up in the kind of place I grew up, extremely small town. I grew up so poor that I didn't even know I was poor because everyone else around me in my demographic was poor. We just, literally like hunting, fishing. When I got in the Marine Corps and people were talking about hunting as a recreational sport, I didn't understand it. They were like, "Oh, you're a hunter," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've been hunting my whole life since I was like 6 years old." And they were like, "Oh well," they started talking about like deer and points on. I didn't know any of that stuff about, and so they didn't think I was a hunter because I didn't know about like how to measure the antlers on a deer. I'm like, hunting was food, not for fun. That's like everything we ate. It was something we killed or caught. So growing up that way, as everyone, small town, goes to school at bare minimum. Most people drop out of high school. And so I grew up thinking that I was dumb because, a C was a good grade for me. And I studied for the ASVAB because of Staff Sergeant Brown's encouragement. And I had to score. He's like, you want to be a Recon Marine, you have to score over a 116 GT score. And so I studied for this ASVAB, and I scored this high score on this test at the same time that I couldn't pass high school. And because he was able to get me in without a high school diploma, by the way, in 1993, which is not possible, but he had to get a waiver from the Marine Corps because of a hardship case. I made a promise to him, and it wasn't a contractual obligation, that when I graduated infantry school, that I would go and get a GED. And so as soon as I checked into my first infantry unit in 29 Palms, California, I went outside of the base to Copper Mountain College, and the Marine Corps paid for me to take a class and get my GED, which may not sound very impressive to everyone listening, but I made that promise to that staff sergeant, my recruiter, and I got my GED. And all these years later, I have an MBA. I graduated my bachelor's degree with a 4.0. I got my MBA with a 3.9 GPA from New York Tech, and I am one class away from getting my second master's from Harvard University. I could never have imagined being that young 17-year-old kid who couldn't pass a single class in high school and had to study hard to get this ASVAB score to be a Recon Marine, that I would have dual master's degrees from prestigious universities like New York Tech and Harvard University with honors. Because the world told me, and my culture told me, and my demographic told me that I wasn't smart enough. What the Marine Corps taught me was that if you work hard enough for anything, you could achieve it, and the only limitations you have in life are the ones you put on yourself.
If you need anything, they're there to take care of that. And if you want to go learn something, all you have to do, sit in line, put out, stay squared away, ask questions, and climb the ladder. And next thing you know, I thought when I turned 40, I was about to die. And everybody, when you're young and in your 20s, you think if you hear somebody's 40, they're about to die. Come to find out, that's actually when you're starting life. I mean, the first 40 years of your life are kind of supposed to be in darkness. It's like testing the gold in the fire. And when you come out of the military with all those qualifications, first of all, college is a joke. And then there's corporations waiting for people to come out with that kind of discipline and those kind of manners. And they didn't tell me that when I was growing up and when I was in school. The counselors didn't get into that. The recruiters definitely didn't. And knowing what I know now, every time I talk to a young person and I tell them about the military, and a lot of times I'd like to hear about the combat and everything like that, but I'm like, hey, look, that's part of it, but you got to understand why we're capable of those things is because of how much they take care of us and what they provide for us. And it was just the overall one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I'm glad I got a chance to do it.
And after you leave that service, whether it's 4 years or 20 years or even 30 years, when you leave, you will know what you're capable of and that you've been part of something special, and there's nothing that you can't do outside of uniform that you did in the uniform. The limitations of your life will be taken away, and you'll know what you could achieve, because as you serve in the military, you are challenged to do hard things. And that's part of being in the military, doing hard things, being part of something special. And for me, like having done the things I got to do in the military, it makes everything that I do in my work life today so much easier, because I know that what I'm capable of. I know what I'm capable of doing when days get hard. I know how to overcome hardships and obstacles. That's something you'll never learn at a university or a college. You only learn in the trenches of life as a U.S. service member. And so it's something that has been very valuable to me, and I would encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity for yourself. Thank you for your interest in serving our nation and our military, and God bless you in your journey.